Welcome into CBS Sports HQ, presented by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Make every moment more. I hope everyone is gearing up for the start of the holidays on this Monday morning. But if you're a Commanders fan, Christmas came early because this guy, Jayden Daniels, is the gift that just keeps on giving. He delivered in a big way on Sunday, leading the Commanders to a comeback win over the Eagles. Daniels threw 5 touchdowns in the win, but the one with 6 seconds remaining to Jamison Crowder to seal the 36-33 victory at home was the icing on the cake. With that touchdown, Daniels became the first rookie quarterback in franchise history and 7th in NFL history to throw 5 touchdown passes in a game as the Commanders inch closer to a playoff berth. Elsewhere, other quarterbacks were playing hero as well. Sam Darnold did it again as he threw an incredible game-winning touchdown pass to Justin Jefferson, which may have been the play of the season for the Vikings. I don't know about that. We'll see. That pass, the difference maker in Sunday's victory over the Seahawks. So now the Vikings keep pace atop of the NFC with the win. Elsewhere in the NFC North, Jared Goff and the Lions just demolished the Chicago Bears yesterday. The Lions were in control all afternoon to run away with a 34-17 win. Goff threw for 336 yards and 3 touchdowns, and the Detroit Lions remained on top of the NFC with their franchise record 13th win. So with that, here's a current look at the NFC playoff picture as it stands right now. As I mentioned, the Lions and the Vikings remain at the top, but tied for that top seed. And we will break all of this down as we now say hello to two of our favorite guys. It's Kyle Long and Mike Renner. Guys, great to see you. I do want to begin with the Lions and Vikings here, tied for the top seed. Both enter Week 17, 13-2 on the season. And Mike, it really seems like all roads are leading to that final matchup in Detroit in Week 18.
It does, and if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan right now, you got to be happy with where you're sitting. It's just win out, and you are the team that's atop not only the NFC North, but atop the NFC as a whole. What Darnold did against a great Seahawks defense this past weekend was nothing short of franchise quarterback stuff, right? I think we've been debating all year long. It's like, is this real? Is this real? That throw to Justin Jefferson, that ain't Brock Purdy stuff. That ain't some of these middling quarterbacks around the NFL. That's real deal. Big boy football, and I think he gives them, when you stack him up versus the top quarterbacks in the NFC right now, whether it's Jalen Hurts, whether it's Jared Goff, you got to like your chances if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan. So, yeah, it's going to come down to the wire, and I love the way the NFC North, you get all these matchups here these last 2 weeks.
Hey, Mike, can we talk about, you got to have it situations? That's a got to have it situation for the Minnesota Vikings. On the road against that defense, an opportunity to put a whole shot in the bucket, and he does it. He does just that. For Minnesota Vikings fans, that's really what you're looking for with Sam Darnold. You understand that schematically, you're well coached. Schematically, you're going to have an advantage. You've got better players for the most part. But when the chips are down and you need your quarterback to make a play, that's what their guy did. And as we move into this meaningful part of the season in terms of playoff football, the Vikings fans are going to be in a confident spot with their quarterback and their offense.
Well, Kyle, elsewhere in the NFC, we saw the Eagles there. They suffered a few losses yesterday, one to their division foe, the Washington Commanders, but also they lost their quarterback to a concussion. Jalen Hurts, as we know, went down in that game and did not return. They've also lost some ground in terms of seeding, you guys. So, Kyle, with that being said, what's your concern level with the Eagles really moving forward here? And how do you see this playing out for them?
Well, hey, look, first and foremost, it's unfortunate to see Jalen Hurts come out of the game with a concussion. Obviously, that offense was rolling on the ground, and it was going to be through the air if it became a shootout as well. Credit to Jayden Daniels for getting them a win. But this team is built to win on the road or at home. They've got an offensive line. They've got some rushers up the middle. They've got a well-coached defense with some young players who've obviously got fresher legs than some of the veterans that are going to be stretching out their stamina bar in the playoffs. I'm not really worried about this Philadelphia Eagles team. I fully anticipate Jalen Hurts to come back in full form after this concussion. It's funny, we talk all the time about quarterbacks sliding and the disadvantages of that, getting hit, your head hits the back of the, well, he went forward and same kind of thing happened. So moving forward, it'll be interesting to see what kind of a runner he becomes when he tucks it.
I'm a little more worried than you are, Kyle, about this Eagles team because, one, their path to the 1 seed now becomes nearly impossible. They got to really thread the needle. They have to have both the Vikings and the Lions lose this next week. So the 49ers and the Packers have to beat both those teams. And then they have to have the Lions win week 18, not the Vikings. So that's their path towards getting, or excuse me, no, it's the other way around. It's the Vikings have to win week 18, not the Lions. So like there's this real minuscule path to them getting the 1 seed. And then, oh, by the way, if they don't get the 1 seed, they probably face the team they just lost to this past weekend, the Washington Commanders. So they are in a difficult spot because the NFC playoff picture is just such a dogfight. There's so many good teams right now. Even that 7th seed is a team you really don't want to face. So, yeah, I still think it's a good football team, but they may just be behind the 8 ball in terms of who they have to face come playoff time. And playing 3 games against the 7th seed right now, it's going to be tough.
Mike, don't you remember those guys had dog masks? I saw it firsthand. Okay, the dog masks, they ran the table in the playoffs, won the Super Bowl. It was a historic year for Philadelphia. I kind of get that same kind of vibe out of this football team. And they've been back and they dropped the ball since then. They don't want to have that taste in their mouth. So whether it's the 1 seed or the 7th seed, I fully anticipate this team having the advantage regardless of who they're playing against, just by nature of the front 7 and that front 5 on the offensive line.
All right, let's go ahead and get to the NFC South here, where it was all Michael Penix's time for the Falcons, led the Atlanta to a win over the Bucs, and now they are atop of that division. But, Mike, when you look at this remaining schedule for the Falcons, they'll see the Commanders next week, followed by the Panthers. What is your confidence level that they actually stay in this lead?
I think they could. I mean, what he did this past weekend, now they didn't need to open it up, right? They had 2 defensive touchdowns. They didn't really need to put it through the air that much once they got to a big lead against the Giants. But against the Commanders, that's going to be a different story, right? You're going to have to put points on the scoreboard to beat that team. He's going to have to drop back and air it out. But what I saw was a quarterback that was not only ready, but a quarterback who looked like an upgrade over Kirk Cousins. He was attacking areas of the football field that Kirk Cousins simply never did. Very first drop back, deep comeback. He puts it on him before he even breaks. It's right there. Now, Raven McLeod dropped it, but it was a throw that just Kirk Cousins cannot make. You can't dial up that concept with Kirk Cousins because, 1, he can't move, and 2, he doesn't have the arm to get it there. So opening up the playbook, that's going to bode well for them down the stretch. Now, again, they got a lot of help with the Bucs losing last night, and if they are tied at the end of the season, they get the tiebreaker. So I think there is a good chance that if the Falcons pull off this upset, they're your NFC South champions, and Michael Penix looks like they got a good one if you're a Falcons fan.
Yeah, Michael Penix, immediate juice, Jordan and Mike. It was just like immediate juice. And one thing that I did notice is it helps out the running game a great deal because people are now cognizant of the fact that Kirk Cousins could, or Michael Penix Jr. could skirt out the backside on some of these nude boots that you see from teams, and you just don't have that luxury with Kirk Cousins. So to Mike's point, extending areas of the football field that Michael Penix can reach with his arm is a huge plus to this playbook. It gives Zach Robinson and this offense a tremendous amount of confidence, but I also think it is going to open up that running game. And Mike and I have talked about it all season long. This is a group up front that prides themselves on being able to run the ball to set up that play action pass.
All right, as we work our way through all the divisions here, we end up with the NFC West. Rams have now won a 4th straight game and really control that division. But Kyle, is it really all wrapped up in the Rams?
I have to think so. I mean, and Mike could probably change my mind, but when you're talking about this NFC West, I really feel like it comes down to experience, and nobody's more experienced and prepared for this run than Sean McVay, Matt Stafford, and his group. Obviously, so impressive on the offensive side of the ball. The health was a major concern for that offensive line early, and it really let down the quality of play for the offense. But as they've gotten healthier and they've reshuffled and retooled on that O-line, they've been able to do things that they set out to do at the beginning of the season. And I think we're going to continue to see that, finishing off with the cherry on top week 18.
Very much is the last man standing there in the NFC West for the Los Angeles Rams because everyone else fell off. We're thinking, who's going to go on this run? Is it going to be, we thought it was the Seahawks for a few weeks. They've lost a couple straight. We thought it was going to be the Cardinals, and they can't win a game now. We thought it was going to be the 49ers, and they look like they don't even want to be there anymore. So, to me, the Rams, yes, they're obviously dangerous. I'm not going to take away from the Rams, but all they have to do is beat a pretty much demoralized Cardinals team this week, and they're NFC West champs. So, yeah, I think that's their division. It's wrapped up at this point, and hats off to them because this defense is playing so much better than I think anyone gave them a chance to preseason. And now at full strength offensively, they are a force to be reckoned with. So, I mean, this is one of the teams that beat the Vikings, right? Not a lot of teams have this season, only 2 have. So if you can do that, being with the team that might be the 1 seed in the NFC, you can make some noise in the playoffs.
All right, last one for you guys. As far as the wild card race, it's the Colts, Bengals, and Dolphins, all still alive after their Week 16 wins. Mike, how do you see this really playing out?
It's going to be interesting because I think the Chargers are going to write their ticket this week. So just get to 10 wins if you're the Chargers or the Broncos. That's 1 more win. Chargers got the Pats and Raiders on tap, right? They're going to take one of those 2, if not, more than likely than not, both. But the Broncos have the little more of a sneakier schedule. They have the Bengals, who are very much in the mix there, and the Chiefs. But the Bengals are at the back of that pecking order should the Colts and the Dolphins both win out as well. So they are really looking up at those 2 teams. And the Colts only have the Giants and the Jags. So if you're the Broncos, you're thinking, I have to win this week. You're pulling out all the stops. Sean Payton's going deep in the playbook. He's going back to his Taysom Hill plays and seeing what he can scrounge up to try to put some offense together to beat this Bengals team, because they're going to need it. Because if the Chiefs don't win on Christmas Day, that Week 18 game becomes a big one for them to get that 1 seed. So how do I see it checking out? I think it still is the Chargers and the Broncos when it's all said and done. I think they each win at least 1 and take those last 2 wildcard spots.
Just think the only thing I'm going to be focused on is whether or not Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals team can make it happen and get some help from some friends around the National Football League, because it's criminal the season that they have had, their win-loss record, with the absolute masterclass of a performance by Joe Burrow. You can look at the most consecutive games with 250-plus pass yards and 3 passing touchdowns. That's pretty damn good, Jordan, okay? 7 of those for Joe Burrow. This is a guy who's on an absolute mission. And if they can just get the defense to play maybe half-mast there for this group, they're just as dangerous as that Rams team we're talking about in the NFC, because you know they can put up points. They can do it a multitude of ways, and they don't even have to. They can throw it with Joe Burrow 50 times, and I'd feel confident. But if the Bengals get in, that's the one guy that none of the other guys want to show up to the party, because if he does, he can spoil it. I've seen it in person in 2021 when he made Arrowhead Burrowhead, and that became a T-shirt and a whole meme. And I know the Chiefs fans cannot stand him. Nobody wants to see Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals.
All right, we'll see how this AFC wildcard race plays out. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining me here on this Monday morning. Enjoy your holiday week. If I don't see you, thanks so much for joining us. You can get more from the guys, though, on the Pushing the Pile podcast with Kyle Long and Mike Renner. You can scan that QR code and watch and listen wherever you get your podcasts. We've got more NFL talk on the other side. When we return here on CBS Sports HQ, 4 teams were eliminated from playoff contention yesterday. So what's next for them as they now look to the draft and the NFL offseason? We break down next.